In 1996, the Dallas Cowboys experimented with something. With Michael Irvin missing the first 5 games of the season due to a drug suspension, Deion Sanders wanted to try something. He wanted to become a two-way starter. So he skipped the 1996 baseball season and focused on playing both sides of the ball. In the end, Deion put up fairly respectable numbers at the wide receiver position. While putting together another All-Pro and Pro Bowl season at cornerback, he managed to pick up 36 receptions and 475 yards as a receiving threat. During the 1996 offseason, though, he wasn't the only player to try and make the switch to playing two ways. The other player, oddly enough, was an eventual Hall of Fame defensive back, widely regarded as one of the best to ever play the game, who, like Deion Sanders, played in Super Bowl 30 the year before. This is the lesser-known story of the time that Rod Woodson tried to make the switch to become a two-way player. There's 2 important pieces of context beforehand. Number 1, Woodson had experience at the position before. At the college ranks when he played with Purdue, he had some offensive experience, recording 15 rushes for 93 yards and 7 receptions for 129 yards during his senior season in 1986. Here's one of his 7 receptions from that season, a 22-yard catch against Ohio State. But in the post-merger era, there's only a handful of players who have ever played two ways, so Woodson played his primary position at cornerback for the first decade of his career. Obviously, this worked out incredibly for him, as he made it to 6 consecutive Pro Bowls from 1989 to 1994. But the second piece of context is perhaps the most important. Pittsburgh had a major problem at wide receiver during training camp. During the 1995 season, there were 3 receivers on Pittsburgh's roster who had more than 500 yards receiving. Their top guy was Yancey Thigpen. He was out with a hamstring injury. Their second guy was Ernie Mills. He was out with a knee injury. And their third guy was Andre Hastings. He was holding out, hoping for a better contract after his performance at Super Bowl 30, where he recorded 10 receptions and 98 yards. Additionally, Damon Mays, who missed all of the 1995 season with a shoulder injury, was also unable to roll due to a hamstring injury. Pittsburgh was missing 4 receivers. They just needed bodies out there. And so, head coach Bill Cowher decided to use Rod Woodson as a wide receiver. Unfortunately, there's a reason why I'm not showing any of his highlights as a receiver, and that's because he never caught a pass in the NFL. This was just something that Cowher and Woodson experimented with during that 1996 offseason, but ultimately decided not to pursue any further, unlike the Deion Sanders move. Woodson would make the Pro Bowl during that 1996 season. He left Pittsburgh afterwards in free agency, and made it to 4 more Pro Bowls after that. When all was said and done, Woodson finished his career as an 11-time Pro Bowler, a 6-time All-Pro, and a Hall of Famer. But it's fun to imagine what if he played some wide receiver like Deion Sanders did, because this possibility of using Woodson as a two-way player almost happened.